From a mythological curse that stops the breath once asleep, to a face-disfiguring disease that attacks children, these are 15 diseases with no cure. Number 15. Marburg hemorrhagic fever. Similar to the deadly Ebola virus, the Marburg hemorrhagic fever is believed to be carried by African fruit bats. This disease was first diagnosed in 1967, following an outbreak in Germany and Yugoslavia. Unfortunately, monkeys that were imported from Africa to be used for polio research in the labs came bearing gifts, or in this case, diseases. Though it is a rare disease, as only 1,000 cases have been reported, its fatality rate is high enough to scare you, especially when it has no cure. Number 14. Cancrum oris. How heartbreaking would it be to see a child with a deformed face? In Africa, Cancrum oris, a disease commonly known as Noma, does exactly that, attacking the facial tissue of its victims. Mostly children under the age of 6. It has an extremely high fatality rate. However, in the rare cases of survival, the victim is often left disfigured and given cold shoulders throughout their whole life. Number 13. Complex regional pain syndrome. And you thought childbirth is painful? Well, think again. CRPS is a lifelong systematic disease, meaning the organs and tissues are in the first line of attack. It is characterized by an extreme burning pain that evidently has no comparison. Its cause is uncertain, and there is no cure. Number 12. Brainerd diarrhea. Let's face it, no one wants to take multiple trips to the toilet, but there is little to no choice with Brainerd diarrhea. This is an acute and severe form of diarrhea, first described after an outbreak in Minnesota. The cause of the disease is unknown, but it is assumed to have been caused by ingesting contaminated water. Unfortunately, frequent trips to the toilet can last up to a year, and no cure has ever been found. Number 11. Parkinson's disease. This disease affects a large number of Americans. We're talking in the millions. It is a condition that affects the nervous system, triggering symptoms such as stiffness, shaking, and slowness of movement. Although it is not fatal, as a normal life can be led, for example, Muhammad Ali. However, there is no cure. Number 10. Ebola virus. This is a type of the previously mentioned hemorrhagic fever, which is caused by the Ebola virus. In recent times, the west of Africa was plagued by this virus, although it is said to have originated from the remote villages in Central Africa. This disease can only be caught through direct contact with infected blood or bodily fluids, and, like everything else on this list, does not have a cure. Number 9. Alzheimer's disease. This genetic disease is quite disheartening. Comparable to the others, it again has no cure. Still, it has no viable treatment. It is a chronic neurodegenerative disease that starts slow but subsequently worsens. Common symptoms are loss of memory, disorientation, mood swings, loss of motivation, and behavioral issues. Number 8. Huntington's disease. HD is an incurable neurodegenerative genetic disorder. This implies a child whose parent suffers from this disease has a 50% chance of being a carrier of the disease. Symptoms range from affected muscle coordination, which further leads to mental decline and behavioral problems. Number 7. HIV/AIDS. In 1981, AIDS was first observed in the United States, affecting primarily homosexuals. Claims are made of its origin to have been from non-human primates in West Africa. Though antiviral drugs have been deployed to control this disease, there is still an unknown cure for the dreadful human immune deficiency virus and acquired immune deficiency syndrome. Number 6. Ondine's curse. Mythologies are best told as stories, but sometimes they present themselves into the real world and fit perfectly. The German folktale of Ondine, the nymph, who cursed her cheating lover to stop breathing when he next fell asleep, seems quite similar to the congenital central hypoventilation syndrome that affects the nervous system that regulates breathing. Sufferers continually need supportive ventilators to breathe while asleep. Number 5. Sickle cell anemia. Though it isn't as deadly as it used to be, thanks to modern-day science, a cure is still very much out of reach. Said to be prevalent in those whose ancestors were greatly exposed to malaria, SCA is a genetic blood disorder of the red blood cells. These cells form abnormally, preventing the proper transportation of oxygen throughout the body. A common symptom is fatigue and chronic pain, though it varies from person to person. Number 4. Adiposis dolorosa. Scientists have described it as an autoimmune disorder. Adiposis dolorosa is a disease commonly found in obese women ranging from the ages 25 to 50. These women suffer from large tumors called lymphomas around the torso. There is no known cure, but pain medications have been deployed to manage it. Also, liposuction is reported to have had some success in its treatment. Number 3. Aquagenic urticaria. Simply put, this disease is kind of an allergy to water. Those who suffer from it experience severe pain from rashes whenever they come in contact with water. There is no known cure, so extreme care is taken when around water. Sometimes sufferers avoid taking baths or showers altogether. Number 2. Trigeminal neuralgia. Affecting the cranial nerve and called the suicide disease. It is in 2 types, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is acute. The sufferer feels extreme pain shooting through their face, which can last up to 2 minutes. Type 2 is less painful but equally harmful, as the human body isn't made to take such hits. Unfortunately, surgical treatments have had little success, and they're basically temporary solutions. Number 1. Adhesive capsulitis. A very common disease. Sufferers of this disorder experience stiff and painful shoulders that makes it literally impossible to move or do anything that requires the function of the shoulders. There is no known cause, though diabetes and surgery may be risk factors. Even though there is no cure, there have been cases where it went away by itself, but it usually takes years.